Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game. 17, Josh played his ass off, pardon my language. It was a great game between two great football teams, and at the end of the day, guys like Tyreek and Travis made the plays that won us the game.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm crafting tweets here.
Crafting takes.
I didn't sleep last night on a football high. How do you guys feel today? Are you just in this euphoric football state after watching those 4 ridiculous games?
Judd's so perplexed his mic is actually still muted on StreamYard. Judd, you just got to unmute yourself. Your takes.
I've been silenced for my hot takes.
Judd.
Thank you very much. No, I'm that flummoxed by the greatness of what we saw. It's the greatest, I believe, football weekend of my lifetime. I really think that. There were 4 games, and for the most part, they damn near just kept improving.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? We had the first 3 games decided on last second, basically, field goals. And so you're like, oh, okay, Chiefs Bills going to be good, but hope it can live up to that. And they topped it.
Dude. It was, let's get to statements. Let's get to statements. Judd's in the same sort of perplexed state as I am after watching those 4 games.
Thankful.
I'm gonna bring this to the Vikings here. Statement number 1. Imagine watching those 4 games this weekend. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen throwing haymakers at each other. Joe Burrow getting sacked 9 times and still saying, "Come at me." Jamar Chase, 20 yards down the field, set up a game-winning field goal, right? Matthew Stafford, the Rams blowing that lead, Stafford coming back over the top on the road against a punch-you-in-the-mouth playoff opponent. Imagine watching those games this weekend and thinking to yourself, if Kirk Cousins only had a defense. Man, defense. I watched those 4 games this weekend, and defense is the thing that separates Kirk Cousins from Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford in LA. Come on. Those guys are playing a different sport than Kirk Cousins, the starting quarterback of the Vikings. And I just want to start off by getting that off my chest.
But the thing is, so I'll actually compare this to back in the day when I watched certain teams play, and then I would watch the Wild play. And they're in the same league. They were in the same league, but they weren't playing the same sport.
Yeah.
They weren't fast enough. They didn't have a superstar. There were all of these things. So I would broaden this out beyond Kirk, because I agree on that part of it. But what we watched with Buffalo, with KC, hell, the Bengals, for sure. What we watched was not what the Vikings were doing in 2021. It's play calling wise, they weren't. Think about the pace that those games moved at, and what they asked their QBs to do, but also the parts around them, right? The Vikings have, I think, some skilled position guys that 1,000% fit, but they had governors on them. Slow it down, Justin. You got to slow it down. And he's like, no, I want to go like Jamar, right? Think about what we just watched and then try and interpret that in any way, shape, or form to what we saw from the Vikings, and you can't. And so I'll take it beyond Kirk, Phil. I'll just go the whole this is why people were fired. Literally, this is why.
Yeah. And it's why they're going to change their quarterback, too.
Yeah.
In fact, I know I'm stealing some of Dex's thunder here, but I feel like I beat him to it because I tweeted it out before he could say it on statements. So Dex and I can tag team this one. Dex, why don't you give your statement, and then because I've got some data to back it.
Okay, so my statement is this can be us, Vikings fans. This can be us, because there's a lot of people that say why can't it be us? We're watching the Bengals. The Bengals made it. What San Francisco has an average quarterback at best. Why can't this be us? This can be us, but you have to accept what's not working. That's what you have to accept. And the Bengals were the first game of the season for the Vikings, right? We all thought, including me personally, this is a shoo-in. Are you kidding me? It's the Cincinnati Bengals. What a perfect way to set up the season. An AFC North team that's average at best with a second-year quarterback coming off a major injury. There's no way the Vikings lose this game. Well, they did. And the Bengals, from a 30,000-foot view, just remove Joe Burrow just for a second here. From a 30,000-foot view, the Bengals, they're not really anything. There's nothing special about their statistics. Everyone always crutches to Kirk and, well, look at all these numbers, look at all these passer rating, look at all these stats, look at all the things that they do. And the Bengals are just kind of meh. But they have an amazing quarterback that makes up for those differences and makes up for situations where things aren't going your way and you can still win football games. Like, if you're a Vikings fan, and you're looking at all these other teams that now have superior quarterbacks and are a game away, basically, from a Super Bowl. Like, the Bills moved on from Tyrod Taylor. The Chiefs moved on from Alex Smith. The Bengals moved on from Andy Dalton. All of those guys, all the three of those dudes are average to slightly above average quarterbacks, and all of them had pretty decent numbers for a stretch of games. And there was Bills fans. I was texting with our buddy Matthew Collar over the weekend. There was Bills fans in 2017 and going into 18 that were scared about giving up on Tyrod Taylor, dude. Imagine that. And Josh Allen, his rookie season was a mess. He beat the Vikings here, which was hilarious, but he would look like a mess. Like, oh my God, we got rid of Tyrod Taylor for this 6'9" giant who can't hit anything, and we're just going to have to accept this? And you leaned into it. He developed. Everything was okay. If you're a Vikings fan, you have to look at everything in championship weekend now coming forward and say, we can be this, but we have to accept and move on from the previous pieces. That's my opening statement.
I'm so glad you brought up. Well, first of all, on the Joe Burrow front, let's compare the two situations here. So the Bengals were the worst team in the NFL. Garbage, dumpster fire franchise, right? They draft Joe, and I get that, like, they drafted number 1 overall, and so it's a little bit of a different animal when you can pick whoever you want. But they drafted Joe Burrow to the worst team in the NFL. 2 years later, they're in the AFC Championship game as an unfinished product. That roster, like that offensive line, is a disaster. You know, they're not a complete product on defense. 2 years ago, worst team in the NFL. They find the right guy, and even as an unfinished overall team product, they're in the AFC Championship game. 4 years ago, the Vikings signed Kirk Cousins, a 13-3 Vikings team with the best defense in the NFL that didn't really fall off until like 2 or 3 years later. Signed Kirk Cousins as the final piece to the puzzle. Not only has he never really embraced the final piece to a championship puzzle idea, he's always kind of said, oh, well, you know, it's not really, you know, I just kind of put my head down, go to work. They have gotten worse over those 4 years. Like, that speaks volumes. On the Tyrod Taylor front, I'm so glad you brought this up. The Buffalo Bills won 9 games and went to the playoffs in 2017 with Tyrod Taylor. And over his 3 years as starting quarterback for the Bills, Tyrod Taylor made a Pro Bowl. Tyrod Taylor was top 10 across those 3 seasons in QBR and passer rating. And he was pretty mobile. Like, he could escape and run on third down and stuff. And the Bills moved off of him because they knew he wasn't good enough. And they were sort of capped at like 9 wins and a wild card round. And they weren't satisfied with it. And I'm sure a lot of people, like Collar told you via text message, right? Well, be careful what you wish for. You might wind up with another E.J. Manuel if you're not careful. And the Bills said, who cares? We want to win a Super Bowl. It's the only thing that this franchise has yet to accomplish. And yeah, they might have wound up with another E.J. Manuel, but they didn't. They wound up with Josh freaking Allen. And they didn't have to draft first overall, by the way. I think he went like 6th or 7th in his draft. Kansas City Chiefs, same thing, right? They went to the playoffs 3 straight years with Alex Smith, who in that final season led the NFL in passer rating and only threw 6 interceptions. And they said, yeah, the glass ceiling there. We can't win a Super Bowl. Let's move off him. But you might wind up with a Christian Ponder. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, maybe they might have, but they didn't. They wound up with Patrick Mahomes, 10th, by the way. They didn't have to trade up to number 1 overall either. So, like, there are guys out there, but to Declan's point, you have to recognize what's happening in the NFL right now. Move off your mediocre, highly paid quarterback.
Change is coming. Do not despair. The reason why, in part, fired Zimmer and probably more importantly Spielman is because They will bring in a GM and coach who will see exactly what we've been saying. And I think at that point in time, a lot of people who right now continue to have Kirk's back will be gone. And they'll be like, well, I didn't really like him that much. So, but they are going to bring in a coach and GM who clearly not only saw what we saw yesterday and Saturday, but also have been involved in the decisions that went towards those changes being made. And this is why you do that. This is why you fire people so that they can come in and give you plausible deniability for the cleaning house of the Kirks, of Thielen, of Smith. I can go down the entire list. And again, I will bang the drum that overhaul is important here. So like it goes beyond Kirk. It's all about, well, I mean, if Kirk goes, Thielen can't go. Actually, no, he can. Well, then Harrison Smith can't go. I got a jersey. No, actually, he's probably gone to at some point in time very soon. The overall house cleaning that is necessary here, both from the all-important culture standpoint and also players aging out, is incredibly important. And I will say this again, until we can sit down and watch a Vikings game on a Sunday, and it looks like they're playing in the same league that the Bengals, that the Chiefs, that the Bills, that these teams above them are, you are watching pretty much a bad product. And you can't, we've now jumped a shark, and I don't know exactly when, but it's what Spielman foresaw in 14, and I think he was sort of right, which is, you know what, I'm going to hire a guy to slow these teams. There ain't no slowing them down now. They are runaway trucks with no brakes going down steep cliffs, hills, okay? And you're not, and the Zims of the world aren't magically going to appear and be like, I've got the antidote for Patrick Mahomes. You just wait. You might for a quarter. Good luck.
Yeah.
But the reality here is what we are watching is not a game that the Vikings are playing. And the question is not, how do I stop what those teams are doing? The question is, how do I join in the fun?
Yeah.
And so change is coming. Some people are going to be very upset. I don't care. I'm not. But this is no longer a question of, no, the Vikings got a team. No, they don't. They don't. They need to hit the proverbial, for the most part, detonate button and start again. And I think they know that.
Also, here's the thing. Let's stay on this subject here, because this is a quarterback-centric subject. All these dudes are in the AFC. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and they're all under the age of 26, 27. Lamar Jackson, who we've sort of forgotten about because the Ravens didn't make the playoffs. Justin Herbert, that team's on the rise, right? Joe Burrow has already arrived. And there's like 5 of these dudes. Now, Kyler Murray is in the NFC. I don't know that I would honestly put him. I mean, I would put Allen, Burrow, Mahomes for sure above him. Like, all these dudes are in the AFC. And so while the NFC sits here and tries to figure it out, right, what's going to happen with Rodgers, and the Saints are still kind of looking for their quarterback, and Russell Wilson's getting older, and, so on and so forth. We don't know about Justin Fields yet. Like, you can get a head start. And here's the thing. This might not be a highly touted quarterback draft. There might not be 3 Andrew Lucks or Joe Burrows, staring you in the face here, but there's almost always somebody. There's almost always at least 1 or 2 guys. And they don't always go number 1 or number 2. I mean, we talked about it. Josh Allen was 7th overall in his draft. Patrick Mahomes went 10th. Got to go up and get those guys sometimes. Justin Herbert was the 3rd quarterback taken in his draft. Lamar Jackson fell almost out of the first round altogether. Deshaun Watson went 12th in his draft. And so there's guys available. The Vikings are within striking distance if they see someone to move up. And I guarantee you, like, of the 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are going to go in the first 2 or 3 rounds, although maybe not super highly touted, there's at least 1 dude in there. Maybe 2. I don't know if it's Malik Willis. I don't know if it's Carson Strong. But there's a dude in there somewhere. And if you get the right GM and the right offensive-minded coaching staff, like, you can join the party. I like the way Judd put it. Join the party.
You got to join the party.
But you might wind up with Ponder. Who cares?
Well, that's the point.
They're not making the playoffs anyways.
That's the point. Who
cares?
I would be tempted. If I got the GM job, I would be tempted to call one player in particular into my office, Justin Jefferson. And I might say, you know what, Justin? We are going to cut bait with this team as much as possible. We're going to jettison guys right and left. And I have not identified a quarterback in this draft, but 23 is going to be a pretty good, solid draft. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a bridge guy for you, and I gotta be frank here. We might not be good. 2022 might be tough. And I want you to embrace that.
Of course, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, and we'll talk about this too.
Yes.
You might still you might pull an Eagles and still make the playoffs. It's great.
Right, but I'm sort of done there because I am now thinking Super Bowl. I'm not trying to think how can I jump the Packers. I'm trying to think how can I jump the majority of this conference? Because Phil, you're exactly right. This conference, QB wise, is not great. The other one is. So I would be very tempted to spend 22 with a ton of cap room, almost go Jacksonville and be like, we'll try and win games, but if we don't, we don't. And say, Justin, that's how we're going to get you your guy.
Yeah. Dude, I'm here for it.
For a second. Just think about it for a second.
For it.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
Nothing, because you're not zero.
But what if you draft Ponder? Dude, they made the playoffs with Ponder, and he was terrible, and he was like dragging behind.
But that's why
the
you
vehicle,
fired. But that's why you fired Rick. Like I would say to all of the, what if we get another Ponder? What if we accidentally get a Freeman? I would say that's why you fired Rick.
Yeah. Dude, you think about too, like even just watch. Football's not always about yardage and stats. Like during those games, Joe Burrow getting sacked 9 times, right? Keeps sitting up like the Undertaker, and you watch that game with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and before I know people are going to say, well, you can't just like. There's not just a bunch of Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes. Well, if you want to win the Super Bowl, you got to find a way to go through teams like that, right?
Yep.
And then you watch like what's happening on the sidelines, what's happening in the huddles, and the leadership, and the fact that the head coach Andy Reid after the game said, when things look grim, be the Grim Reaper, right? Yeah. It's all this like offensive empowerment. And Josh Allen. There's a great anecdote from NFL Network. I think it was is it James Palmer.
Yes,
he's a sideline reporter guy.
Yep,
and he said, at the end of regulation, so the Chiefs, they have 13 seconds left. They complete the first pass to Tyreek Hill. Now they have 7 seconds left. They need like 20 or 25 yards to get to field goal range. And at the end of regulation, Kelsey wanted to run his route into an open space instead of what was initially called in the huddle and through the headset. So here's the play call, and Travis Kelce said,
"No,
ooh, I feel like we should do this instead." And he told Mahomes this as they were breaking the huddle, right? And so Mahomes gets up at the line of scrimmage. And during his cadence, he sees sort of the defense, and he looks over at Kelsey and says, do it. Do it.
Yeah.
They literally changed they changed the play at the line of scrimmage.
No, you can't do that. No, Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if he's looked, his paycheck signed by the Chiefs. He just works here. He worked for them. Run the ball.
That is insubordinate. I bet the coaches yelled at him after the game. How dare you?
How about this part? The tight end empowered himself. Like the parallel. Again, the Vikings and Chiefs in the same league, not playing the same game. The Vikings basically had Tyler Conklin look at Kirk and say, screw that. Here's what we're doing. Tyler Conklin looked at Kirk and said that. That's the exact parallel.
I mean, I'm not going to put Tyler Conklin in the same sentence as Travis Kelce, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm saying it's the same position. But if you can't imagine it, which I can't.
Like Justin Jefferson would be kind of the alpha dog pass catcher.
No, my point is Tyler Conklin was the Vikings' top tight end. Travis Kelce,
no, I know.
They're in the
I don't want Tyler
league.
Conklin changing plays, but I'll take Justin Jefferson changing plays.
You can't even envision it. That's my point. It's not even the same thing. It's incredible.
I just kind of keep my head down, go to work, and
turn on the microphone, turn off the microphone.
Yeah, just
start the show, stop the show.
They want me to call timeout. They can just.
I'm still shaking. This was so good.
All right,
it was incredible.
Declan, back to you.
Yeah, my next statement is: let's start the next era of Vikings football this week. Let's start this next era. A couple GM finalists now, rounding out initial coaching interviews. The next era of Vikings football can now start. We're recklessly speculating, and we're also not talking out of our rear ends necessarily, but these GM candidates, we really don't know a lot about who they are. Doogie had a good tweet yesterday about it. You could have been walked. I could have passed Ryan Poles at Red Rabbit this weekend at brunch, and I would have no idea that I was sitting next to Ryan Poles, right? I don't know who that person is and who they're actually gonna be.
Did you see Dan Quinn at brunch?
No, I did not see Dan Quinn. Thank God. I would have self-reported if that was it. And I was like, please get out. Please don't take this job.
Sounds like you might be seeing Todd Bowles at brunch based on some reports over the weekend.
Yeah, Mike Garafolo had something about that as well. But I'm excited for this next era of Vikings football. They get some new blood in here to assess if this situation is going to be long-term with this current group. I don't think so, but how do they get this average team to be Super Bowl contenders? And I know we're excited to talk about reckless speculation and all this type of things that we can talk about fixing the Vikings. Are they going to cut Kirk Cousins? Are they going to draft a quarterback? Will they trade for a quarterback? This next era of Vikings football, I think, can start this week. I don't think a coach gets hired yet, but I do think a GM is probably going to be named here in the next 4 or 5 days. And finally, the next era of Vikings football can start.
Don't screw it up is all I've got to say. Don't screw it. And by the way, Kirk being gone is to me not reckless at all. It's necessary. If Kirk stays, they're screwing it up.
Yes.
Don't screw it up.
The risk is hanging on to a non-elite
100%.
Quarterback for elite quarterback money. There is zero risk in saying goodbye to Kirk Cousins.
And the risk
is the other way.
And the risk is internally believing what Mark Wells said. I think we can be super competitive in 22. Hold on a second here. I'm talking about Super Bowl, okay? What are you talking about? Like, it's fine.
He said Super Bowl 2, though. He said Super Bowl 2.
But not in 22. What I'm saying is you need to take a step back to go where you want to go. And so if you're really going to be like, we're going with Todd Bowles and we're going to throw it out there week 1 and be competitive, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, I think because twice in the statement that they put out on the day they fired Spielman and Zimmer, Mark Wilf said, we want to win championships. We want to win a Super Bowl. That's why we're doing this.
Love that.
And then in his press conference, he talked about, we think we can be competitive in 2022. I just hope that they, like you, don't put being competitive in 2022 above building a 3 to 5 year thing.
Amen.
Where you can peak at some point where the Bills are, where the Chiefs are. And again, I know that it's so hard to imagine because Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen don't grow on trees, but Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, I mean, even Kyler Murray and what he's been doing. Like, there's dudes out there. And hell, Trevor Lawrence might be one of them. He was just stuck with buffoon Urban Meyer this season. So yeah, when 25% of the league has a young guy under the age of 27 right now that's lighting up the sky with amazing clutch performances, like, you can't tell me that there's not guys out there. You haven't taken a shot. Get back out there in the dating pool, Vikings.
Well, yeah.
It's a stale marriage, okay? The kids are out of the house. The kids are gone. They're all grown up. It's time to get back out there.
And Spielman's gone. Zim's gone.
Those are the kids. Yeah, the kids are gone.
But you are now on Tinder, but you're looking for a lifetime date. Like we're looking like this is not about one night stands. This is not about, I hope we could beat the Bears and Packers. That's fun. This isn't about one night stands no more. This is about a lifetime of fulfillment.
Then you got to get off Tinder. Yeah, you got to
keep your options open. Don't limit yourself to just one app. Okay, you got,
go on one.
Get set up. Use your friends. Use everyone else. Use everyone involved. Use the draft. Use free agency. Use trades. Use anything you can to find the person. And once you find it, it'll all make sense.
Swaddle or something.
Swaddle.
Websites that have dating apps like Twitch,
quarterbackmingle.com.
Tinder. I mean, I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm looking for a lifetime partner.
Pocketpassersonly.com.
Lombardi Trophy. Workhereonly.com. Work here.
Here's my next statement. Chill boys are the most comfortable underwear of all time. I am feeling good and snug this morning. What's one word to describe how chill boys are making you guys feel right now?
Oh, satisfied. Satisfied. I have finally found boxers and long johns that, you know what? I finally found my quarterback. And
your old quarterback was pretty good.
And my old quarterback was fine. I sort of got to playoffs, but you know what? I never felt championship comfort. And now I feel championship comfort. I got my quarterback.
I was going to say it's nice to have Josh Allen strapped down, but that sounds weird.
No, so you've gone too far now.
God. Yeah, I would say satisfied as well, just because I got to finally watch all this great football this weekend. The divisional round is my favorite football weekend of the year, of any calendar year, of all the football weekends. There's championship weekend, there's week 1, there's Super Bowl, there's Thanksgiving. There's plenty of options for your favorite weekend of football. Divisional weekend's always been my favorite. This was a legendary weekend of divisional round football that I don't know is sustainable every single season, but I was satisfied watching it in my Chill Boys. It was great. My performance brand, the bamboo fabric. I got the bamboo on right now. It's the best. Go check them out, chillboys.com.
Chillboys.com. They just care about your comfort. Minnesota-based company, and tell them that Mackie and Judd and or Purple Daily sent you. All right.